What if the reason that you're not closing all the deals you want to be closing has nothing to do with the strategy and everything to do with what's going on with your subconscious programming? In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to be talking to you about your subconscious programming, how to give you a subconscious edge over your competitors in the sales playing field. Now, my name is Jason Kent. I'm a sales performance coach. I'm a real estate broker for EXP here in the state of Nevada. I've done investment coaching and planning, doing micro and macroeconomic forecasting all over the country. I've built and scaled a real estate brokerage. I built and scaled a cattle business focused on regenerative agriculture. And the one thing that I have noticed through all of this is that identity will drive your results. So what I focus on is identity, behavior, and how its performance is aligning in your sales results. So make sure you stay all the way through, because at the end of this, I'm going to show you exactly how to rewire your results in sales. I'm going to reintroduce something that most people don't even realize they need. But once you see it, it's going to change the way that you look at your business as a whole. So I've given you a quick background. Basically, I grew up spending time between the ocean and horses. So there's a really strong connection of energy and focus, and what you put in is what you're going to get out. Now, I've had my ups and downs. We all ride the roller coaster. I had health issues. I had a pituitary brain tumor that almost killed me. And having to rebuild my life, I had to rebuild my identity, because I was being told that what I was going to be living with was my new normal. And I don't accept that. And so I had to learn how I could rewire my subconscious thinking to help myself, because the new normal of my physical was a product of me being subconsciously drawn back to a safe place in my mental. So all of this is connected to sales. I mean, we are selling every day. If you're trying to convince your wife to do dishes, you're selling something. So we all sell. But for those of you who are in the sales professional industry, I want you to understand that 95% of what we do and our success is mindset based. Only 5% of it is strategy. And part of that is because 95% of what we do on a daily basis is all done subconsciously. 85% of that is repeated daily. So you got to really realize that only 5% of your success is going to be based on your conscious thinking brain. I know it sounds strange, and I know it sounds a bit crunchy, but everything is interconnected here. And people, you guys are not failing because you don't know what to do. You're failing because your identity doesn't match what you're trying to achieve. That's why I coach the way I do. I don't give people tactics. I'm aiming to help you guys understand how your mind actually works, how the self-image is driving the actions, and how to rewire the patterns that are keeping you guys stuck. I've lived both sides of it. I've been the guy pushing hard and getting nowhere. I've been the guy rebuilding from nothing. And I've also been the guy who figured out how to align my belief, my actions, and get the result. Look, we've all been told grind harder, work harder. You're going to get there. And there is truth to that. But at the end of the day, if we are missing the subconscious mindset and the belief, we can't achieve everything we want to achieve. Now, this is not theory, and this is not motivational talking. This is all science-backed. I mean, even Albert Einstein said everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the energy you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Guys, I'm telling you, this is all science. This is real experience, real adversity, and a system that works. I wanted freedom, both time and financial freedom. And I had to realize that if I wanted to have any new success and a new result, I had to follow a new system. You cannot achieve something new following the old patterns and systems that got you right to where you are. So to do this, we need to understand how we work, how our mind works. And without that understanding, it's almost impossible to change. But once you do get it, it's not easy, but it is simple. So here's the big realization, right? People know what to do, but they don't want to do it, or they want a quicker way. And it is proven that you can get a big goal faster than a small goal. And that's usually because of the belief and the intent. And the action in believing in a large goal will automatically get you farther, even if the goal isn't reached in that time frame. So it's not a lack of scripts or systems or strategies. It's just the fact that success in sales is really only based on 5% of strategy and 95% of mindset. More specifically, your identity is going to drive the results. And so if your identity isn't aligned with the goals that you have, you're fighting a battle you can't win. So let's break down understanding the sales mind, right? So we've got our conscious mind, which is 5%. This is the logic, your scripts, your training. And then we have the subconscious mind, and this is what controls your behavior. It's controlling your confidence, your fears, your consistency. So what happens? You learn what to say, but you don't say it consistently or confidently. And then you know what actions to take, but you hesitate. Or your subconscious tells you, I'll do it later. You negotiate with yourself and you get pulled back. You set goals, but your actions don't match them. Why? It's because you're running on a program, and that program, that paradigm, that system, whatever you want to call it, it produces a self-image that doesn't align with where you want to go. We need to rewire and reprogram the self-image to the person who has got the results that we want. And we'll touch on that shortly. But here's the loop that we fall into when we don't understand what's going on in our mind. Well, the thoughts, they create feelings. The feelings drive our actions. The actions drive our results, which reinforce the identity and creates this vicious loop. That's why you can have the best system in the world and still not perform. It's because your identity doesn't allow it. If you feel like you have short-term success and you think back on what your goals were and what you wanted, and if you believe that you're a $100,000 agent, that's probably where you're sitting at. If you may see a spike, it's a roller coaster, right? But ultimately, there's going to be something pulling you back. Do you celebrate your successes and pull your foot off the gas pedal? Do you think about things from a standpoint when you're about to get paid, close that deal? Are you waiting for that money? And when that money shows up, are you feeling relief or are you feeling expectation? Because if you're feeling relief, you're in a survival mode. And I'm telling you right now, you cannot grow when you're in that survival mode. But if you're feeling expectation, you are in a wealth mindset. And maybe we just need to tweak a few things to get you thinking bigger. But at the end of the day, when I learned all of this, I didn't like it because I didn't like what I was getting. I was stuck in the trap that was telling me to grind harder, do more. And that's not always the answer. Hard work is rewarded. But if the mindset's not there, you're going to fall into this sales trap where you have the same efforts, the same hesitation, and getting the same income over and over again. So what is it that's actually holding you back? Awareness. Most people don't even realize what's actually happening. They think, I need a better script. I need better leads. I need better something. But what they actually need is an awareness to how they're operating. And once you are aware, you can start to change the old program. You can start operating from the version of yourself that has already achieved your goals. Think about how that person operates. What are their habits? How do they dress? What decisions do they make? How do they carry themselves when they walk into a room? Because the decisions are going to drive your results, not the other way around. Most people want evidence, then make a decision. But that's contrary to achieving, since you will be making decisions from the same place you're in now. So there's an immense amount of belief needed to achieve, but it all starts with the self. So let's talk about your identity. You're trying to close deals at a level and your identity doesn't support it. There's a misalignment there. And if you don't see yourself as a top producer, how are you going to act like one? And this is where the reticular activating system comes into play. The reticular activating system, I'll call it the RAS for short. It's a part of the brain that filters your reality. You see millions of bits of information on a daily basis, but the RAS only shows you what it feels is important to you right now. So when we discuss how perception is reality, this is one of the reasons our perceptions of the same events can differ so greatly. It's also why when you're buying a new vehicle, you start to see that vehicle over and over again. It's not that there are more of them on the streets, it's because it's more important to you. The RAS is looking to reinforce beliefs that you've already held. So if you believe that you're new at something and you're bad at something and it's hard, your subconscious is going to unfortunately help reinforce that with the help of the RAS. That's why goal setting and goal setting alone isn't enough. And that's why when most people talk about manifestation, what they're really doing is just wishful thinking. But when we talk about setting goals, the goals should be big enough that make you uncomfortable. And I'm going to tell you this. Setting daily achievable goals is important. You need to be giving yourself wins. But if your overall arching goal isn't one that creates discomfort and it isn't defined by the limitation, but created from the imagination, it's not a big enough goal here, guys. We need to be thinking big. So I want you guys to take a second and think back. What were the goals that you held a year, 2, 3 years ago, when you started in the industry, or when you were thinking about getting into the industry? Was there a dollar amount you were thinking about? And when you were thinking about that dollar amount, were you thinking about it based on what I need to make on a daily basis? Or were you thinking about it from the standpoint of, what do I want? Most agents don't even, most people in sales, most people, period, they don't know what they want. And the brain is a target-seeking mechanism. If you don't give it direction, it's going to default to the past. And this includes creating goals out of that bare minimum we're talking about. You're already creating scarcity before you even start moving towards the goal. And the mind will think about it. We are creatures that are built for survival. What's the mind going to do? It's going to keep us safe. Human nature is built on that. It's not built on happiness or abundance. It doesn't mean it can't be learned, but it requires thoughts, focus, and action to retrain that, to create neuroplasticity. Success isn't doing certain things, it's doing things a certain way. And that all starts in the mind and the beliefs that you hold. One of the greatest coaches, Bob Proctor, he quotes Neville Goddard all the time. And one of the quotes that Neville Goddard read was, "We are only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination." One more time. Weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. Let's break that down for a second, because your focus is based on your thoughts and you imagine whatever you want in this world. But the moment that you do not focus on it, you start to drift. And if you don't imagine your goals big enough, if you're imagining your goals as someone else's ideas of what your goals should be, they're not truly yours, and it's not truly what you want. So there's a misalignment. So who is the version of you that you see completing the goals that you truly desire and want? And I want you guys to take a minute and think about that. Now, this is the part of this talk where most of you guys are going to zoom out. And I want you guys to stick with me, because I'm telling you right now, here's where we start creating change for ourselves. Once we start to have ownership, we can start to make changes. And I'm telling you, inconsistency is the biggest killer in sales. It's not laziness. And most people identify laziness with procrastination. Two different things. Again, the procrastination is a goal that's set that doesn't align with the self-image, and it's your subconscious and the need for safety pulling you back to a safe place. So let's focus on that identity conflict. Are you the type of person, and answer this question honestly, are you the type of person that is loyal to yourself but doesn't follow through? You make promises that you're going to do something and then you negotiate. And is that based on fear? Is it based on a misalignment of what you're actually doing? Because if it's based on fear, and that's okay, we all have fear. Fear is created to drive us back to safety and comfort. And think of it this way. If you've got a missile, if your mind is a missile, right? And the mind is a heat-seeking GPS, it needs inputs to course correct. And those inputs are negative usually. And fear is looking at it going, oh, we've gone too far this way. We need to get back, right? And so there is a portion of this that is just ingrained in us. And we can overcome it if we think about it and we start to understand what's going on. But the fact of the matter is that you are either going to be uncomfortable in the growth, or you're going to be uncomfortable in the certain situation and you're going to regret your holding on and not taking more action. And that's what I'm talking about with that heat seeking and that negative input that's keeping us safe. It's keeping us within the confines. And it's driving us to a destination that maybe we didn't choose. But now, if you're aware, you can choose the destination. Those negative inputs, those course corrections are going to keep you going towards the goals that you truly desire. Because if you are somebody who was like me at one point, you wanted comfort and you were okay sitting in the comfort. You avoided the uncomfortable calls. You avoided the uncomfortable conversations. You avoided uncomfortable follow-ups. And every time you avoided it, every time I avoided it, I reinforced the habit. But sales growth requires us to be uncomfortable. You will face your fears. And it's okay to be scared, but you have to understand, are you scared because you don't know the material, or are you scared because you don't know yourself? And it's usually a combination, and that's very circular, but we all have these fears. I feared sharing this information. It's too important not to share. And if one person watches this and comments and it helps them, then this is worth facing all of those fears, because I believe in sales, all of these things are common. It's common to have fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of failure. But here's the truth. Fear isn't stopping you. Your response to the fear is what is stopping you. Most of you have things you know you should do, but you don't. We all have hard things to do. But do you let the old version of yourself, the version that got you to where you are today, tell you that it's going to end poorly before you even start? This is now where we have the awareness. We are gaining an understanding of how the mind works. And you can fear it, and you can run from it, or you can face it and you can rise. Like everything I've discussed here today, the awareness is what's going to allow you to make a choice that would otherwise be determined by your subconscious. Now, we have more power than we allow ourselves to believe, and life isn't happening to us. It's happening for us. So making decisions and being aware of the old patterns, that's what's going to allow us to reshape our reality and our identities. I want to just touch on this real quick, because before I give you guys the keys to the kingdom here, and I kind of have with the awareness, but I'm going to be going over something that's going to really change everything. So stick with me. I just want to touch on these limiting beliefs that we all hold. I'm not ready. It's a bad market. I'm not good at closing. These aren't facts. These are programs. And these are programs that are dictated by outside circumstance. So what do we need to do? We need to change our inside focus. We need to focus on the things that we need to do to move forward, right? Because there is no such thing as a bad market. If transactions are happening, you can be transacting. If you tell yourself you're not good at closing, you're not going to be good at closing. People are going to read that from you. And like I said before, we're only limited by our own thoughts and imagination. But now knowing 95% of what we do on a daily basis is subconscious, 85% of it's repeated daily, and 75% of it is negative thoughts, it makes sense why we need to retrain our mind for a more positive routine. But once you decide to do this, once you're committed, you're already taking the first step. Now is where the change begins, because decision-making is one of the key things here. Top producers decide fast. They decide, they act, and then they figure out how they need to course correct, right? That missile, that heat-seeking missile, does nothing if it's just sitting on the launcher. Average performers are who are the ones who are hesitating. They're the ones who are sitting in indecision and staying in the same place. Most people are sitting here trying to do more, learn more. And just so you guys know, there's a difference between knowing and actually taking action and doing. Or they're pushing harder. and they skip the most important step, and that's becoming. If you're going to remember anything from today, well, there's a lot to remember here, but one of the big things is be, do, and have. You don't get the results just by doing more. You get the results by becoming who you were always intended to be. The person who may be different than the person who is now, who has these fervent beliefs. Most of us, they sit here and they say, hey, we want heat. We're going to build a fire. And you know that you're going to get heat if you build the fire. You believe that. It's the same thing with our self-image and the sales goals that we hold and the goals that we hold in anything in life. If you do not believe that you are going to get heat from building the fire, then you're probably going to stop once you start realizing how much work it takes to build the fire, because you're not even sure it's going to get you heat. So I tell people all the time, you have no clue how close you are to breakthroughs because you're just stopping. And I know that we all need to take small steps repeated daily to get there. And the systems that you guys are already paying for, the teams you're on, they're already probably implementing daily tasks that they're asking you to do. And most people just think it's busy work, but they actually miss that they're trying to help you change your self-image. They're trying to give you wins every day, building confidence, building that fire. The problem is most people don't believe the end goal, which is why the short-term motivation fades and eventually you fall off into the same pattern. And this is true with all aspects of life, but in the sales side of things, you're always selling yourself. So if you don't believe in yourself, the energy you're putting off is going to push people away. So now the real question here that all you guys have probably been asking, if you're watching this far, is how do I fix this? Well, you're not going to fix the behavior, but you can disrupt the identity and create new behavior, create new patterns, new pathways, new paradigms. This is what I teach. This is a disruption process that I learned from my coach, and I have tailored for salespeople. Now, if you're going to take anything away from this webinar, and I know I've said it a couple of times, here's the big things. Awareness. You need to catch the pattern. You need to see the hesitation in real time. You need to understand when the old version of you is trying to pull you back to comfort. You need to reject that old response immediately. Say it out loud, say it in your head, reject it. I usually ask myself, why do I feel this way? Is this the old version of me? What's the new version think? And I replace it. I replace it with what the new version of myself would say. I install the identity of a closer, a producer, a performer. And when you replace the old thought, you need to cement it in. Now, you can do this by talking to yourself in a mirror, auto-suggestion. It's going to take a lot longer than if you take action immediately. Right now, you act immediately, you make the call, you follow up, you execute. I can, I will, I execute. And once you integrate these steps into your life and you repeat it until it becomes automatic, oh man, once you do that, you're going to see how quickly your results change. And why does this work? Well, why? It's because you stop relying on motivation. You start becoming consistent. You start acting without hesitation. You start to build discipline. And when that happens, your numbers are going to change. Again, this is simple, but it's not easy. And the truth is you're not going to fix this with more information. You're going to fix this by taking action. And where are you at? The environment you're in will matter. So what I'm offering you guys is I have a program that is specifically designed for sales professionals. It's not theory, it's not motivation. It's a 6-month immersive program where we're going to break down why you think what you think in your sales positioning. We're going to get you to a place where we're going to give you a full identity and performance breakdown, a step-by-step guide how to rewire your behavior, weekly accountability and coaching, daily structure to build consistency, a system that forces execution and teaches you how to uncover value for you and for your clients. And it's going to unlock the earning potential that you guys have wanted. If you're serious about growing in sales, if you're tired of starting and stopping, and if you know you're capable of more, this is for you. Now, keep in mind, this is not a replacement of the old systems. This is the missing piece that makes all of the systems that you're already utilizing start to pay off. If you're smart enough to know this is for you, let me know. If you're smart enough to know this isn't for you, I'll see you once you realize that it is. Anyways, my information is below. Reach out to me if you'd like to chat. I'll love to talk with you more about all of this. I'll see you guys next time.